There's a lot of noise in the bleachers. And I recommend parents are like, what do I do? I say, buy 2 beach chairs and go park down the left field line and watch your child. That's number one. You have to reframe. It's not a gossip center and it's not about you. So reframe. I'm going to get out of the noise. I want my daughter and my son to see me. I'm over here. And we always say, watch the movie. Come in quietly, sit down, keep your pie hole shut.
Welcome back to a very special 100th episode of the Significant Coaching Podcast. I never thought we would get this far, but I want to take a moment to thank all of our wonderful guests who have joined me, who have educated families and coaches across the country. It has been an awesome journey, and I hope to keep it going. I'm your host, Matt Rogers. Today's guest, as you just heard in the opening clip, is someone whose impact on sport and leadership is almost impossible to measure. She is more than just one of the greatest college coaches in the last 50 years. She has become a national treasure for the work she continues to do to make the athletes and coaches who participate in the sports we love mentally, physically, and emotionally healthier. I am speaking about the legendary coach, Sue Enquist. At UCLA, her alma mater, Sue helped guide the Bruins to 5 NCAA Division I national championships and a 6th as a player, becoming one of the most respected coaches in college athletics. But her story didn't end when she stepped away from the dugout. Today, she's a sought-after consultant, speaker, and culture builder, helping leaders and teams far beyond softball learn how to perform at their best. Most recently, she worked with the USA women's volleyball team at the 2024 Olympic Games in Paris, where she focused on building a human-centered culture, reinforcing mission and values, and helping the team capture the silver medal. At that level, where the margins and physical talent are razor thin, Sue teaches that it's the discipline, the intentionality, and the culture that tip the balance. In this conversation, Sue shares how to create environments where athletes, coaches, and parents can thrive, why culture is the most powerful competitive advantage a leader can build, and what coaches and families alike need to remember when the pressure is at its highest. And before we begin, I want to remind you to visit CoachMattRogers.com for more coaching, recruiting, and parenting tools and resources. And check out my brand new book, The Volleyball Recruit's Journal, now available on Amazon.com. All right, here's my conversation with the incomparable Sue Enquist. Coach Enquist, thanks for being on. It's just an honor to talk to you. I've been a big fan for so long. And as you and I talked before we recorded, we were colleagues for a while at NCSA.
That's right.
So
Next collegiate sport athlete. Yep.
Yes, I've been impressed with everything you've done. Obviously, world-class career, Hall of Fame career in so many different ways. So that brings me to last summer, where my wife and I are sitting on the couch and we're about to watch the Olympic volleyball team play. And I go to my wife, I go, Sue Enquist is on the bench. And later they did an interview with you and I learned that you were the advisor for the team. And I was like, oh my gosh, what a great decision. Because I've told you this, I'm a big believer that if you can coach and you can inspire and you can motivate and you can teach discipline, the technique is nothing. The technique everybody can learn if you can do all those other things. So tell me how that came about.
Yeah, my actual role was I was in as a consultant. It was my second quad. I came aboard through the pandemic in our march to Tokyo, and then the second quad was Paris last year. My role was as a consultant was really trying to frame up individual mastery, but our true focus was around team culture. Because at that level, and your viewers know this, when you get to the Olympics, the margins are so small around physical talent that you have to be dialed in everything. And the coaches at the time were interested in, and the players were interested in, how can we go ahead and dial that in as well? And so during the pandemic, I was doing an event for USA Volleyball on leadership. Pandemic hit, everybody shut down. It went to Zoom. Just by happenstance, I'm on the Zoom the same time as the captain of USA Volleyball. She had no idea who I was. She goes to Karch Kirai, who's the head coach, and says there was some
Random lady.
random lady was on there. Maybe she could talk to our team. Karch, who is in mastery, who is such a professional.
Right.
and a Bruin.
Right,
But I
right.
did not know Karch. A lot of people don't know that. Anyway, long story short, worked out, came in, built some scaffolding around their mission, around their values, and built a culture that was really human centered. And to be honest with you, I've been in sport over 50 years. I'm 67 years old. I've been in sport formally as a professional for over 50 years. Outside of the UCLA Bruin bubble, I have never been associated with a group of professionals and professional players like I have with USA Volleyball. If you're a mother or a father out there and you're not real sure if your daughter should go into lacrosse or volleyball or basketball or volleyball or
Right.
tennis or volleyball, I'm saying go into volleyball. But you're going to
Yeah.
notice I didn't say softball or volleyball because everybody needs to know where my heart is. But long story short, my job was to really just keep our culture dialed, which we're
Yeah.
not naturally wired to make it about the other person. And so it takes real intention, real discipline. And the women of USA Volleyball are unbelievable. I say this often. If I could put them in the duplication machine,
Yeah.
this world would be a lot better place.
Special human beings. Yeah. And I just had, you'll appreciate this. I just had Olivia Foley, who's the Division III National Volleyball Player of the Year, on the podcast. And we were talking about, they just won 3 straight national championships at Juniata. And we talked about that mentality. And sometimes they just played with anger, not towards anybody, but just, we're exhausted. We're playing more games than everybody. We're winning more sets than everybody, and everybody's given us our A game. And you had that at UCLA, and you were a part of that with the Olympic team. Where do you think that begins? Where does that begin, where we get kids to understand where their body and their mind can go to be great?
Yeah, it's such a big question to unpack. I think the first thing that people need to understand is performance doesn't matter, sport or spelling bees or academics. Performance is really about this idea of what's happening mentally and then being dialed physically, right? Doesn't even matter. Spelling bee, you've got to get your body regulated. And when you look at our high performers, the thing that parents and athletes need to understand is it is a very personal journey for every high performer. And we overuse high performance a lot. We now know, science now tells us that it's actually a fallacy, that less than 5% of the time you are in your peak performance, operating and dialed mentally and physically.
Wow.
The ones that separate themselves are the ones that know how to navigate all the different emotional levels that you go through and mastery around failure recovery. So what we now know, whether it's men or women, doesn't matter, team or individual sport, what separates them is they can move through everything with incredible efficiency, to be locked in the moment, be where your feet are, and give 100% of what you have. Because this generation now has to deal with focus challenges, and they have to deal with injuries. Injuries, I say this often, injuries is now a standard. It is a part of a conversation with every coach that's dealing with somebody that's dealing with high performance or just competition in general. And so if we can dial these things in and look at your body and your mind as an F1 car, you got a set of dials, and you got to be able to know when to tweak each one of them throughout your pre, in, and post competition. And those that have got that dialed end up having the best opportunity to be their best. And more importantly, they have joy. They know how to have FUN. It's like the new F word. We know how to do that. And that is a skill that involves rigor. When I say rigor, a disciplined attention to detail. It takes rigor to create the conditions to have JOY.
What role do the parents play in all that?
Oh,
I'm just going to throw loaded general questions at you that are so hard to answer.
Yeah, let's
I'll put some
digress. Let's
context
get
in
off
this.
the freeway of high performance and talk about,
Right.
first of all, to every mom and dad out there that has a son or daughter of, or non-binary children that are navigating high performance, academics, athletics, sports, whatever it is. I see you, how hard this is, because there is no standard curriculum around sport performance. There is no standard pathway that parents can jump on and follow with assurance that it's vetted and verified information about the biology of the body, about the physiology of the body, about their mental performance and how the mind works, not even getting into the technical and tactical and failure recovery standards that you need in each one of these sports. So to the parents, I see you in how you have to try to build out a dial for your son or daughter that allows them to be navigating all of these things throughout their life. But this is what I know to be true. Disclaimer, I have no children. Disclaimer, I have no children. But I watched parenting of performing children come across my doorstep for 27 years at UCLA. Yeah. And this is what I know to be true. To the father, you set her self-efficacy. And you'll notice I don't say confidence. Confidence gets overused. It's too high of a bar. Gen A, Gen Z, they don't totally relate to it because we romanticized it. It makes it sound like I am going to be the champion, so no one's going to say I am confident. Confidence just means trust in the moment.
Right.
Dad sets self-efficacy. Let's just believe in ourselves in this moment. And dad can set that self-efficacy by putting out the conditions where that child succeeds and fails on their own, and the father is the guide rail there. No, he's not carrying her. No, he's not coaching her in row 3 ever. No, shut your pie hole in the recruiting office visit. Shut your pie hole. Let the scholar athlete do all the talking. To the mother, I see you. You are the bus driver, the nurse, the big sister, the psychologist, the cook. You're all of it. I see you. Thank you for all the lonely work. But this is what she doesn't need. She doesn't need 17 texts every day from you because you are her best friend. A teenager does not need a mother as a best friend. You're stunting her own young womanhood to be an independent thinker, to be able to tackle problems, because her default setting is, I'm going to text mom. I'm going to text mom. So we ask questions in the recruiting process that is going to tell me about their critical thinking skills, because you learn critical thinking skills. When I say critical thinking, I'm talking about thinking, meaning do I, as a young, soon to be young adult, 18 going to college, am I aware about the thinking that is needed in each part of my day? We call it thinking about thinking. And there are 3 thinking models that you have to have. My thinking model about me, it's all about me. It's just me. You get to be me when your head hits the pillow and you wake up in the morning. Boom, you're done. You got your 8 hours of being me. The second model, or what we're calling thinking about thinking of, now I'm in team mode. What does my family need? What does my classmate need? What does my teammate need? And that's the majority of your day. And then last is community. Who am I serving? Whose shoulders did I stand on? And how am I showing my gratitude every single day? So for us, we literally say your individual lens, your team lens, and your community lens. Thinking about thinking. Moms, we need you to help us in this area. So when she comes to, the coach can sit there and ask really challenging questions, and the child doesn't say this. Right. Well, the minute I see that,
yep,
because mom and dad, I've got 20 shortstops that have an open a backhand that can throw a rope to first base. I have 20. So someone that can't articulate and doesn't have clarity around their performance skills and their relationship skills, you are going to go drop down on that list. And so that's critically important in the interview process, to be able to look me in the eye, tell me what you are, tell me what you're not, and give me examples about how you master failure recovery.
Yeah. How do we teach parents to focus on those things?
I think parents, I wish that we could get parents to if we want parents to be at the same bar that we're expecting our scholar athletes to be at, we have to put them through a learning ecosystem. Who is teaching that? We say, I hear this often, like, there's no books on parenting. Yes, there is. There's hundreds.
Too many.
This idea about what does a parent of a performing child look like? Your job is to create the conditions for them to succeed and fail on their own, and then be the leveler in between to be their engineer of belief. In other words, you're going to create the conditions, you're going to create the questions for that athlete to answer, I failed today, I have a better tomorrow coming. And projecting optimism is, I believe, the strongest, most important skill a parent can have. Hey, you know what, Susie? Yeah, you went 0 for 4 today. It was painful to watch. You're not a failure. You failed.
Yeah.
Tell me what we're going to do tonight, tomorrow morning, before we go back to the park. Non-emotional. Oh, yeah, look at thumbs up, guys. Yes. We're celebrating, people. We're celebrating. We're celebrating 1% better every day. If we can get our parents to actually walk through these little step-by-step moments in between the child's performance environments, to be the engineer of belief, you're not supposed to be the hero. You're supposed to be projecting it's going to be a better tomorrow if we do A, B, C, D. And then that falls on the athlete through their effort and their attitude. The only 2 things they can control in life, I say it often, you can only control 2 things: your effort, give 100% of what you have, and your attitude. Whether I'm starting or I'm literally in the dugout as a game changer. We call them game changers. On USA Volleyball, we call them game changers. It's a super important role. Parents need to be a part of that, be on a learning pathway as she continues or he continues to go up the food chain of serious competitive sports.
Sue, I know you understand this, but I find it, there's so many parents that don't want to read the book. They listen to this conversation, they go, I want to do this, but then they get overwhelmed and they stop, or they revert back to who they're comfortable being. Where does executive function skills come into play here to help the parent have some simple things that they know, okay, this is what I want to count I want to make sure I'm doing for every game. And those executive function skills for that kid that maybe has that, just can't grasp all of this that we're talking about, and just needs those 2 or 3 things to remember, okay, this is how I'm going to prepare. This is what I'm going to do during competition. This is what I'm going to do after. Where does all that work into this?
I'm really interested in having conversations with the parents, because if the number one thing, you have to shift this thinking around, she's just playing a sport. Because what happens once they shift to travel ball, they're now in this engine, they're in this dialogue, they're in this language that they can't get out of. So the first thing is just understand, the minute you sit in the bleachers, you're in the noise zone. There's a lot of noise in the bleachers. And I recommend parents like, what do? I say, buy 2 beach chairs. It's worth the $75 to buy 2 beach chairs. In Southern California, it's probably about $125 for 2 good beach chairs.
Right.
And go park down the left field line and watch your child. That's number one. You have to reframe. It's not a gossip center and it's not about you. So reframe, I'm going to get out of the noise. I want my daughter or my son to see me. I'm over here. And we always say, watch the movie. Come in quietly, sit down, keep your pie hole shut, because now we know all the data that we're getting. They're feeling pressure because parents are being overly positive. You're all right. You've got this. You know what the kids tell us from 8 to 18? I wish it could just be quiet. So that's number one. Reframe where you physically sit. That's a marker that it's not about me. Number 2, don't talk to your child after the game about the game unless they want to. So that's the number 2. You got to be in your executive functioning brain. Once again, it's not about me. I know your dad. I see you. I know you want to know about the 4th inning with the runner on second. There was 1 out and the count was 2-2. And you want to know why she didn't swing at that curveball. And that's her pitch. I know you want to know that. And I just say, just remember 10-2, 10-2. Get in the car, hands on the 10-2, and just drive home. If they want to talk about it, let them talk about it. You may look back there. You probably see the part of their head because their head's down and they're already in their phone.
Yep. Yeah.
Let them. If they want to talk about it, let them talk to you. That's another reframe. The third reframe is parents are looking at the path to college and the recruiting process as some sort of party that they're going to get invited to. Can you tell I'm retired because I could never talk like this if I was a full-time coach? Coaches can't talk like this because they may be. I'm going to turn off 60% of the people that are listening. I'm going to turn off. They're going to go, screw her. I'm going to speak the truth of what coaches can't talk about. Coaches are sick and tired of parents thinking it's the coach's job to find them, the 500,000 of them.
Yeah.
Parents, stop waiting to be invited to the college party and look at the path to college like you look at your health insurance, your life insurance, and your car insurance. Oh man, we spend a lot of time comparing, fitting up, find the match. But when it comes to travel ball, we drop Susie off to Chuck in a truck, and we don't even look at what kind of background they have in their recruiting clinics they're putting on. We don't look at their science background, if they're teaching mechanics. That's tough as a college coach, knowing these parents come into an environment that isn't certified. There aren't standards. And on the flip side, I know there are club coaches. Club coaches, I see you out there. So many of the club coaches are doing it. If you are a club coach out there that is a volunteer, you're like, dude, I'm a banker Monday through Friday, and I do travel ball on the weekend. Thank you so much, sir and ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the volunteer coach. I'm talking about those coaches that are doing this full time. If you're going to talk about mechanics, you better have some certification around on base U or somebody that's doing the science behind the mechanics of movement. If you're going to be talking about what mental toughness is, you better be using people that are vetted and verified in the industry if you're coming across as a full-time travel ball coach. And I say this the same thing on the college side. That we're now at a point where softball is a business and we have standards that we should uphold, even though nobody is holding you accountable to it. Once again, I'm going to say it 3 times. Volunteer coach. I'm not talking about you. I wish you could, but I understand your job. You could be a banker or a baker, and you're just putting in your 4 hours on Saturday. I appreciate you and I see you.
I've been in so many interviews. I've been interviewing coaches and hiring coaches. I've been gone through interviews to be a head coach. No one's ever asked me this stuff. No one's ever asked me about, I just talked to a university president. He goes, Matt, every time a coach comes in here that we're interviewing, I point him to the whiteboard and say, tell me what your culture is going to look like. Tell me what you're going to be known about. Tell me why these kids are going to be healthy and successful, find joy. They're going to be disciplined. They're going to leave here better people. If the ADs and the presidents aren't asking those questions, what are we expecting from what we're getting?
Even, and I know this is provocative and people roll their eyes when I say this, and I own my bias. I'm a college coach, so I have more empathy for the college coach because I know today what the college coach is going through. I'm a consultant. I work with college coaches in all sports. And I've been only in one other renaissance in my career. My 50 years, this is only the second renaissance. The first renaissance was when AIAW, Association of Intercollegiate Athletics for Women, transferred into the NCAA. It was a clown car.
Yeah.
Doesn't it feel like a clown car right now?
Yeah.
One day you're an amateur, the next day you've got NIL for $1 million. And if any parent could be behind the curtain of how a coach is trying to navigate this massive shift, have empathy, and parents take charge of your recruiting journey. It's not a party where you're waiting for an invite. Don't wait for the phone to ring. There are too many of you and not enough coaches. Do the math. Use the technology. We have recruit education services out there that can do the technology for you. You can get free services and not pay a dime for a recruiting service. We start doing that. I think the parents are going to become more educated and understand their role in this whole process. Because right now, Matt, what a parent does, they get in the bleachers. They meet Mr. and Mrs. Jones. Their daughter is 3 years ahead. So they become the authority. Everything they're saying is, I'm going to do that because look at, she already got a verbal to Northwestern. I'm going to go there on that path. Instead of saying every child has their own path and you've got to do the matching before you start doing the cold calling and the cold emailing. Go ahead and email the 1,400 colleges. Good luck with that.
Yeah, I'm with you. And that's why I do what I do. Is it's all about the kid first. You can't worry about the colleges. You can't worry about divisions. You have to worry about who your child is. Because if they don't know what their priorities are, they don't know what brings them joy and what makes them happy and what makes them healthy, how do you even know what type of college to look for, what type of coach they need, and what kind of communication they need to be prepared for?
And Matt, one of the things, just to be relevant, because it is such a growing thing, where this renaissance, and remember, every renaissance, if history,
Yeah.
there always there's always a messy front end. We're in the front end of a renaissance. We'll recorrect it. We'll get it back to making more sense. It will never be the way it was. But
Yeah.
what I want parents to understand is what I see when I'm consulting, and this is at all levels. I'm at all levels, but it's a similar principle. You have to decide when you make a decision, am I going to be a customer, or am I going to be a student athlete for 4 years and get a degree from there? You have to have an honest conversation with your child around that. That if I make a commitment to go to Arizona, but deep down inside, if I know another school, if Oklahoma comes calling, am I going to Oklahoma? Then I'm a customer at Arizona. I'm a customer. I'm just shopping every year. This is the hard part people don't like to hear me say. College coaches hate it when I say this. The more college coaches that have it broken down like this, they're crushing the NIL, they're crushing the transfer portal. They look at the transfer portal, it is an asset, it is an accessory for me, but they know how many people on their team are traditional student athletes, they want the degree, and how many are customers. And when you learn as a college coach to start using that vernacular in your recruiting process, we can now open the door and not make it this big secret. I'm not saying they're going to do what they say they're going to do, because life changes, decisions change. The reason this is important is this traditional student is thinking every other student is a traditional student. And our default mindset is everybody's going to be here for 4 years, graduate. No, that world's gone, guys. It's gone. So let's, in our cultural scaffolding framework around how we operate individually and as a team, let's have conversations around this, and let's get it out of the closet. I think transfer portal feels very similar to when we first started talking about mental health back in the early 2000s. Was the first time we really started publicly talking about mental health. We're still not there, but we first started talking about it. I go around telling college coaches, talk about it, get it out of the closet, because it helps you strategize more. Because some of these dollar offerings, they can be life-changing for the first 5 years of your life after college. And this is what I always say. Oh my gosh, you got $250,000. That's great. Your life's going to be amazing until 2029. Now, what are we going to do? You have no degree,
That's right.
no place to go,
That's right.
and you've already spent all the money. Now what? So
right.
this idea that if I'm getting hundreds of thousands of dollars, that's life-changing, it's not. You want parents to make a 60-year decision. Where do we want to be in those 40 years of my working life? Pick a school that aligns with that. Or even if you're transferring, pick a school that aligns with that. So win, lose, draw, or you're getting a lot of money, you're going to get that degree to take care of yourself for the next 40 years after you graduate when you're 22 years old.
I love it. I'm on 100%. I have a 16-year-old daughter who played club volleyball for the last 6-7 years. And I want to talk about mental health a little bit with you. My biggest concern that I see with what she's gone through is the time commitment. She goes from high school volleyball in July to November, and then immediately into open gyms for club. And then they're competing until July, and then right back in high school.
Yeah, it's a lot to unpack, right? Let's go. Let's start at the top and then peel it down. I truly believe this. I wish we had amateur club sports partnered with the NCAA.
Yeah.
So that student athlete is mirroring a very protected schedule. And based on how many sports you're playing, it would be a mandatory dead period where it is a legit dead period. So if it's a dead period, you can't go play another sport. You're in your reset, rejuvenate period. That's number one. Number two is the brain isn't wired to be on 24/7, but society-wise, we haven't acknowledged that. So the poor scholar athlete is trying to keep the brain on 24/7. We know we're failing miserably on that. But let's start at the top. When we talk about mental health, we have to break it up into two categories. One is clinical. So we have young children out there that are actually suffering from chemical imbalances that require a clinical health expert. And then we have many more that are dealing with mental performance challenges. They've got performance anxiety. They've socialized these words like pressure, anxious, anxiety, and the brain is very compliant. So when you start talking about, I'm super nervous, I have so much anxiety, the brain is like, you have anxiety? Puts on all the red lights. The brain puts on the red lights, gets the chemicals going. The blood now starts flowing everywhere. So now that young child is sweating, possibly tacky throat, lump in their throat, sweaty palms, stomach ache, mud butt. We've all been there. Once we can teach our young children, everybody has mental performance challenges, and there are some that have clinical mental health challenges, and both of them can get to the top. Coached at UCLA for 27 years. We had 15 Olympians. We've had athletes that had serious case of both and still went to the top, stayed on top, and now are really high functioning humans in society. So we need the parents to look at mental performance and mental health almost like it's a management cycle and not a disability. So we're not looking for accommodations. We're not saying, oh, she wants the day off because she's got a lot of performance anxiety. And in high performance, we just call it energy. So when my energy is misdirected, misguided, we now know our breath can realign us in terms of being anxious, anxiety, feeling pressure. It's just energy. It first starts with our words. We've got to change the vernacular that I'm feeling really elevated today. Brain's, oh, you're elevated? I know how to decelerate you. I'm going to go ahead and put my breathing kits to work. We now have specific breathing kits to elevate or calm down. And from the day forward, from when they're in second grade, when they were feeling anxious, everybody's body deals differently with environments that they pick up a vibration. We have children, we have young adults, we have Olympians and high performers that are empaths. Their body, we call them high frequency, meaning their frequency when they walk into rooms, they go to ball games, their frequency is picking up everything. They're picking up the temperature of the room. They're picking up the noise. They're picking up the closeness of people. Their little bodies are taking all that in. We call them high freaks because we want to celebrate them because they actually have the capability of going to even a higher level once they can control that. But we have to stop shaming people that are empaths. Dude, stop it. Quit whining. Quit being a baby. Get off the floor. Stop crying because you're overwhelmed. No, actually race over to her and say, you want me to go through some breathing with you right now? Here, sit up and let's just close our eyes. Let's ground our feet. Let's start to get centered with our breath. And let's work breathing kit number 1. And let's get our breath back. We'll start there. Let's be where our feet are. Be the helper. Don't be Captain Obvious. And that starts with the parents. And then it goes to the teammates. At the top, mental health, break it up, mental health, mental performance. Understand in this, we have people that pick up a lot of signals. This one, it could be chemical. There may be other assets that need to be a part of their kit, their mental performance kit. And we have to feel good about all of it because all of them are capable of going to the top.
How much of this were you doing 30 years ago that you couldn't define and couldn't put it into categories like you can so easily now? Where were you 30 years ago with all of this?
Now, remember, 30 years ago, I was 37. Let's talk about 40 years ago.
Okay, 40 years ago, whatever you're comfortable with.
Early in my career, I was just a yeller.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about how are you feeling. I'm not talking about your breath. All I'm talking about are your feet that have to run because you're 1 minute late. So go do your 400 up downs. Shut up, put up. And I regret that. I regret that. I could have been a better coach if I had more knowledge
Yeah, I'm with you.
around treat them as a human first
Yeah.
and a person second
Yeah, I was the same way.
and a player second.
Where's the balance though, coach? There still has to be an understanding how to get there. Can we do that without the challenge?
Well, I'm talking about readiness. I'm not talking about physical standards. Physical
Where's
standards, they're unchanging. Your physical expectations based on the coach you're playing for, he or she doesn't have to change that. We get confused.
Okay.
When we get confused, when we talk about mental and physical, and we talk about spending 7 minutes to get mentally ready, people think it goes like this. Oh, mental readiness, that means I have to lower the standard. No, it doesn't. That standard stays there, beginning, middle, and end. There's my standard. It's unwavering. In my world, it's unwavering because we don't have the capacity to be able to take a weekend off. These programs, to our sport parents, when you're watching these programs, when you're watching the UCLAs and the Oklahomas and the Alabamas and the Floridas and the Texas and Texas Tech, you're watching these top, they don't get a weekend off in general. And we now have to acknowledge as a leader, coach, teacher, if I don't get a weekend off physically, because I'm supposed to win every game, I've got to learn how to regulate my mental performance. I've got to learn how to regulate my body. So now the next, I call it the 22nd century thinking, is we're looking at rest and rigor with the same level of commitment. That rest is built into your digital calendar. How many students out there, and let's not get into time management, but you should be scheduling rest into every digital calendar. Parents should be putting it in, and you should have rest, what we call rest blocks, 3 times a day. And you stack those, just like you stack your workouts, right? We're always saying we're trying to stack another good day. I now say stack a good day physically and stack a good day mentally. Did you get your rest windows done?
What does a rest block look like?
Imagine what a rest block is. Or we also call it the 0 block. What do you think they do in the 0 block?
I would imagine it's some kind of meditation or sleep.
Yeah, you're doing 0.
Yeah, nothing.
Nothing. No phone, no lights, no distractions. If you want to just sit under a tree and hear your breathing, that's a beautiful 0 station.
What would you recommend a block like that? How long should it be?
Depends on the person, depends on the time of the day. There are athletes right now that have to execute. I was going through a time management because we talk about an epidemic around mental health, and I acknowledge that it is an epidemic. You want to know another epidemic? Time management.
Oh, it's terrible.
Parents.
Yeah.
Parents, please teach them time management.
Yeah.
Don't tell them everything they're doing hour by hour. Johnny, now you're going to go take a shower. Johnny, now you're going to put your shoes on. Johnny, now we're going to go to practice. Johnny, now. No, give Johnny the week and tell him to put it in his digital calendar. And I always get emails after, and people will say, when do I start that? The minute you give them a phone. My daughter's 10, she has a phone. Start then.
Yep.
And they're like, oh, I don't know, it's so complicated. Have you ever seen those kids? I'm so impressed with Gen A. So Gen A is coming after Gen Z, right? Parents will say to me, oh, this is so complicated with all the digital. And I said, are you watching your daughter do those TikTok dances? She's legit. She can do 3 minutes with her friends completely in sync. The amount of mental load, physical execution, and timing, just like filling your digital calendar. She can do it. Give her a chance to do it.
Absolutely. I'm a huge proponent of it. And I wish somebody would have taught me this 40 years ago, because for me,
I know, me too.
For me, this phone, as much as I hate it sometimes, if I didn't have it, I think I would be a hot mess, because an alarm will go off and it'll say, you got to prep for Sue. An alarm will go off and say, hey, grab your son and go for a walk. You're not going to have any time with him today. This is going to be your hour to go spend some time with him.
Yeah, so exactly. And so we call those intention, what you just said, we call those intention blocks, right? I'm going to have intention. Like, for example, let's say I have a history test on Monday, my intention block on Sunday is reread chapters 1 through 5. And so we have blocks of what we call hard events. And then every event usually involves a prep block. So how many prep blocks do I need for the history test? Depends on how prepared you are. So if you're not prepared, it's Friday now. My test is Monday. You're going to have to put probably 6 preparation blocks in your calendar to read.
Okay.
But remember, you got to put your rest blocks in there as well. And then I'm recommending with our Gen A, when I work with Gen A's,
What age is that, Coach? Is that
I think they're saying like there's an overlap, but it's around 8 to 10 years old to like up to 18. There's a crossover.
so? That's my son and my daughter.
It's right behind. So
Yeah.
Gen Zs, I think, are like 18 to 28, 30, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that exactly, but they're coming up after the Gen Zers. And what we're working on is having them look at social media like it's homework. So it should be in your calendar. And there are times that you do it and there are times you don't do it.
I like that a lot.
And that takes baby steps, because right now, for our half of our millennials, for our Gen Z and Gen A, it is not technology. So I always tell parents, let me explain it to you. We look at the phone as technology. It came into our life. We didn't have it and then we had it. So it sits out here. I always tell parents, think about the phone to your daughter is like the toilet to us. Okay. Someone said to you, hey, Matt, you know what we're going to do? We're going to put a timer on when you can go to the bathroom. You're like, wait a minute. I've had free access 24/7 to the toilet my whole life. But it will help you understand how difficult it is for them to separate, because there is no separation. It did not come into their life. It's been there all along.
That's right. Interesting. Coach, I want to go back to what I asked you before. I loved where we went with it, but I want to talk about the length of the travel ball season, because I think we have to address it at some point, because we have all these great athletes who love their sport. They're passionate about their sport. They can't wait to get up and get better at it and go be with their team. And by the 90th game of the summer, they can't imagine picking up a bat or being out in the 100-degree weather anymore, because they've done it so much and they're so burnt out with all the noise we're talking about. Can we start there? Is it reasonable to say we're going to block this out where, like you talked about with the NCAA, it's going to be a 3-month season for travel ball and that's it?
Yeah, the water's under the bridge. It's very difficult. You see how they get around the rules. The high school did it, right? They built in policy, but you saw how they get around the rule. And so I think for me, I would love to be more proactive around. I just wish there was a deeper connection with NCAA and club ball. And what would that look like? Let's say there's 2 areas for me, technically 3. The physical, how the body moves. So let's just say functional movement, mental performance, time management, critical thinking skills. Okay. Just think the office skills. Okay. I would love for the NCAA to put together a consortia, men and women, and any travel ball group can come and be a part of that and access the information. And no, NCAA is not going to make money off this. Travel ball is not going to make money off it. What's happening right now is colleges, travel ball are going into the pocket of the parent, telling them, you got to do this tournament. You got to do this recruit. And the poor parent doesn't know how to discern what is life-threatening and what is, we're trying to keep our travel ball program going, or we're trying to fundraise for our college program, because they're equally guilty. So I sit here, I have a bias. I want to own it. I'm a college coach. But for the last 20 years, I'm now in everybody's mess. I now consult with travel ball coaches. I have a new understanding. When I started One Softball, Matt, I had a whole new understanding of what the poor travel ball coach is dealing with, especially the ones that are doing it part-time. I do not have empathy for people that are making a business out of travel ball, and I don't have a problem with it either. I like it. There's some beautiful, big organizations that are doing it right, driven by character, has a legit, transparent process, and they're delivering results. I love that. I feel badly for that group that doesn't know what end is up. Wouldn't it be great if a parent knew The vetted and verified good housekeeping seal for travel ball is this. And you can get it at all of these sites. And so the travel ball coach is going to get out of the business of recruit education, get out of the business of business skills, get out of the business of mental training, unless that is your certified area and you are a subject matter expert in that.
And and your idea is the NCAA provides those things that the
NCAA
coaches...
and wouldn't it be beautiful? It would be the USOPC and all our national governing bodies partner with the NCAA and create this layer that is required. You know what I equate it to? And the only way you could get this done, and I'm speaking innovation. This could get done if we tied all of this path to college education for children that are performing. I don't care if it's dance, anything, sports, if we tied it into insurance. If we tied it into insurance, now everyone is going to shift. This is serious. We're going to hold it over the parent. You can't play. We all know you can't play unless you get your certified insurance. If we put all of that underneath insurance, then before they get into their first tournament, they already know about what the odds are. Mom and dad, the odds of your daughter or son getting a full ride to the school of their choice is 0.00001%. And you're going to go, no, wait, the stats I hear is 5 to 20%. No, I said to your choice, not, oh, I got offered a scholarship at this school. I never wanted to go to that school. What if we said that? But right now we're living in a world where parents are hand over fist money. It's the lotto. They are living a world for 8 years. It's a lottery.
It is.
The way we're doing it. Imagine if we said, no, we're actually going to have a way through technology. You're actually going to see from a third party is going to say, this is where you fit. Not the travel ball coach, not the college coach. A third party is going to be able to say, here is the clump of schools that would love to hear from you. Imagine if we gave that answer book to the parents. Don't they deserve that? Don't the parents deserve that?
If we can figure that out, I'll do everything to be a part.
Listen, I just believe in America. I'm a believer. Can you imagine if we got the top insurance people together, the legit ones, not the criminals? We got the NCAA education. A lot of people don't know about NCAA education. Get on the website. Get into ncaa.org. If the parents ever clicked on all the student athlete links that they've put together, it is the best. But good luck.
Right.
Good luck having people tell you that it's there.
Yeah.
And then imagine if we just grabbed 15 of the top Amazon executives and said, hey, Amazon, I don't work for Amazon. So people don't be texting me that you're working. I'm not working for Amazon, but I am fascinated. I'm fascinated that if I go in there,
I know exactly where you're going. Yeah.
If I buy those blue socks that have neon yellow trim, it is 2 minutes later, I'm like, hey, look at these cute racing pants that you could run your road race in that would match your socks. The technology is there.
Do you think it is from an evaluation standpoint, though? Do you think the AI is there to evaluate what you're looking for in a softball player?
Oh, it's coming, my friend. We already have bots that can play center field, that can read the trajectory of the ball. So trust me, it's coming. It's just a matter of who's going to control it.
That's the problem. And then there's the character side. And then there's
But imagine if we had think about this. You're a parent. When your young daughter, she finishes pre-K and she's getting ready to go into K and then into first grade, you already know she has to go through certain standards and will be dipping into certain domains.
Yeah.
That would be a perfect place to start. But right now, you know what the parent knows? Get on that one team that's going to be in the Colorado tournament. That, mom and dad, that is a tournament lotto. There are 32,000 softball families there.
Yes.
They are 175 miles away from each other. Yeah. Good luck for that one school going to find your daughter at the same time that you happen to be playing. It is such shenanigans
Yeah.
and being out of it. And I was in it. I was in it. I'm a guilty one. I hold myself accountable. I was part of the problem because I was a college coach that just kept benefiting from the system because I was at UCLA.
But would you, if I told you all this 30 years ago, that you had this, that you could do this a different way, would your ego have allowed you to change it? Because that's the problem. If nobody that's in that position now will let go of their ego and say, yes, I'm going to be a part of this new way we're going to recruit and the new way we're going to evaluate, would you have done it?
Let me reframe it. I get a little heightened on the word the ego because college coach here, I got to take care of my college coaches. People think that the college coach doesn't want to let go of their ego. It actually has to do with everybody is doing all these tournaments because they're trying to get to the top schools. The top schools don't need the standardization because the best percolate to the top.
Yeah.
So Patty Gasso at Oklahoma, no, when you're the best, no one's coming to Patty's pity party because she's the best. But she actually has this same challenges because she has no margin for error. Every single year, Oklahoma, Texas, UCLA, whatever, they can't be off by 1 or 2 pitchers or they're going to drop to 8 or 9 or 10. Okay. But if we said, look, we're doing this for the other 80%,
okay,
then I think we could get coaches to say, yeah, let's do that. And there have been some people, we've got to acknowledge Dave King and Triple Crown. We have to acknowledge them working so hard to standardize talent. And it is the future. We're just not getting the buy-in at the same rate. Historically, we're actually right on pace like baseball. It took baseball decades. It took baseball 40 years to start creating a true common language around a 5-tool player. So we've got to be patient. We were just starting the standardization. And I was at the end of my career when we started it all. And look, we're already 25 years in and we still don't have a complete common language where everyone's speaking the same language around physical standards. And we've got some wonderful mental profiling standards out there, but there's just too much noise and the parent stays away because they don't know which one's vetted, which one's verified.
Yeah, that's a big problem. Where do we go? Which one do we choose? Coach, this conversation needs to continue to grow, and I'll be a major proponent in pushing it and making sure people are listening and we keep having this conversation at a high level. I want to take a little break and then for 5-10 minutes, just talk about recruiting and really give some advice to parents and coaches and kids. Give me one piece of advice to the coaches out there that they just need to hear, whether you're a youth coach, whether you're a high school coach, whether you're a college coach, just that one nugget that you think, if you're going to go into your season, if you're going to coach young people, this is the one thing I want you to start thinking about.
If you're a parent and you're a fan, I want you to understand there's a big recruiting engine behind the curtain that you don't even see when you come to the park. I want the parent to know when you're sitting there and you look over and you got top 10 coach there, I'm going to ask the parent, try not to get nervous. They're actually, what the coach is looking for is I want to see them fail and see how they react.
Yeah.
Of course they want to see if they can hit that great pitcher. Of course, that's a given. But the college coach knows that every day that kid's not going to be hitting that oppo double off the fence. They're looking at barrel angle. They're looking at reaction time. But one thing they're really looking at is how are they managing their failure recovery? Are they a good teammate? They're looking at the interaction. Those college coaches are looking at a lot during warm-up. They don't miss a beat. And so as a parent, be the voice to your young child to say, on game day, it's celebration day. You get to wear a special uniform. So you got we always say it's good old softball with our party dress on because it's game day. Have a lot of joy out there. Be the engineer belief as a parent. Hey, you know what, today, I just can't wait to watch you play. PLAY. Yeah. So be that person that is that comforter for the child. And then during the game, just be heads up. If you're a big mechanics yeller at your child, have you ever asked your child, hey, are you good with me saying, level up, level up? If your child says, yeah, I love it when you say that, perfect. Never heard a child say that. The second thing is every single time, this is a marker, a mental marker, every time you sit down on the bleachers, for every hour of watching softball, have you put 10 minutes into your recruiting plan for your daughter?
Yeah.
Okay. So the
Love
10
that.
to hour rule, right? So if you're at the park for 6 hours, you owe your daughter an hour of recruit planning. It's a great way to keep the balance.
I agree. Coach, you're a national treasure. Thanks so much for doing this. I appreciate everything you've done, and I'm so excited that you're in this world.
Thank you, my friend. It's great to be with you.
That wraps up part one of my conversation with Sue Enquist, and wow, is she a wealth of information. What a gift to learn from someone who has shaped not only champions on the field, but healthier athletes and coaches in every arena she touches. But we're not done yet. Be sure to come back for part two of my conversation with Coach Sue on the Significant Recruiting Podcast, where we'll dive deeper into her perspective on the recruiting landscape and the advice every family needs to hear. You won't want to miss it. That'll be out this upcoming Monday. In the meantime, if you're looking for tools to guide your own recruiting journey, visit CoachMattRogers.com. And don't forget to check out my brand new book, The Volleyball Recruits Journal, now available on Amazon.com. It's built to help athletes and families stay organized, stay focused, and stay grounded throughout the recruiting process. Thanks for joining me today. Until next time, stay focused, stay humble, and stay in the fight.